And there is your morning music, soundtrack of your life. Things are happening, making things happen. Waiting for the stream to go live. That's always fun. Is waiting for that stream to go live. There it is. I'm sitting over in the corner, watching myself. Man, I need a haircut, guys. Need a haircut. Got a weird. Wow, this is not even a green cup, guys. Let's see what we can do about that. There we go. It's our Cowboy Bebop cup. A little out of sorts for the day, but it's got I think it's Japanese writing on it. But we're going to talk about Korea today. Korea in the news. Ah, man. Alex out there saying, let's get this over with. Let's do it. And Paul saying, good morning. Good morning to you guys. Good morning. Good to see you out there. Wow. What is going on today? It's Constitution Day, for one. That's the first thing. Let's see what you got going on. CISA's in the news. My least favorite named cool organization. They're teaming up with MITRE to do good work on identifying vulnerabilities. macOS has a bit of a bug. There's a malware out for your macOS. There is some news that's not news. LockBit is in the news. They're doing their double-pronged attack. This should not surprise any of you guys. A few months ago when they joined the Maze cartel, Maze, that's one of the big hallmarks of Maze. Maze encrypts your data and then steals a copy so they can post it online. I mean, that's what Maze does. When LockBit joined that cartel, it shouldn't have been any kind of news at all that LockBit is going to go this model. So LockBit has kind of followed that model. And there's a likely connection between Lazarus group, which is the North Korean hackers, and they won't go, the article won't go as far as tying them to any of the Russian APTs, but they are tying them to Russian-speaking hackers. And there's a big difference there. It's not a step too far to assume that that's who they're talking with, but the article will not go that last mile and say that. I don't know. We'll get to that this morning. How are you guys doing? How is the day going? Hopefully you're having a good day. I'm, of course, scrambling around. The other thing I want to talk to you about this morning is a page that MITRE's got up. And I guess this week we'll just spend some time every day, or at least for the last part of this week, we'll spend some time every day talking about MITRE or MIT research, FFRDC. So let's roll the intro. Let's roll the intro and get the show on the road, huh? Groovy. So MITRE and CISA, your critical infrastructure, cybersecurity infrastructure, part of Homeland Security, critical infrastructure protection, doing all kinds of good things for cyber. It's a good organization. It really is a good organization. They have teamed up. They're the dynamic duo now. MITRE's done a ton of work with CVEs, right? These are critical vulnerabilities that are, well, not even just critical. These are all the vulnerabilities that are listed by MITRE that you kind of got to keep track of. It's common vulnerability enumeration. And if you've been around security a while, you know back in the wild west of the security days, Microsoft would come out and they would say, we've got a patch, we've got a vulnerability, we're going to issue a Microsoft number. And they issue a Microsoft number. And somebody else like Nessus would come along, they'd find the same vulnerability, and they'd issue a different number that correlates with their system. And maybe a third party retina would find the same vulnerability and issue a different number. So you had this mismatch of numbers. You had a Microsoft number, and maybe you had a iRetina number, and maybe you had a Nessus number, and maybe you had a different number from BugTrack. And you're trying to track all these things down. Well, MITRE came in and they said, no, that makes no sense. You guys are going crazy. Stop doing that. We'll jump in. We're an FFRDC, Federally Funded Research and Development Corporation. We're going to fix this. We're going to come up with a common vulnerability enumeration system, a CVE system. And every single vulnerability will get a CVE number if it reaches our system. So now we can refer to vulnerabilities by a CVE number, and everybody can speak the same language. Now within the CVE number, we can have links to the Microsoft number and the BugTrack number and the number from Nessus. All those other things can be connected there, but we can always talk about a CVE number, and we can follow it easily because we can say, hey, CVE 2020, that means it came out in 2020. We know how old it is, and then it's going to be a numerical indicator after that. Brute level, yeah. So really that's all this article. The article's in your show notes. I'm probably not going to spend a whole lot of time. It's got a lot of information about the history of CVEs. Probably good on that point. The big thing is, because CISA and MITRE are both doing this now, they're working in concert, we're probably going to see an uptick in CVE numbers just because there's more bodies working on it. So I'm sure there's a significant quantity of CVEs that don't get a number just because there's not time to do it. There's a finite number of resources at MITRE that's doing this. Now CISA is adding bodies to the mix. They're helping get these CVEs out there. So we're probably going to see, probably not this month, probably not September, probably not October, but probably November, December, and into next year, we're going to see an uptick in CVE numbers. I'm kind of, that's a metrics activity. How much do you think these things are going to go up? I'm just trying to keep an eye on the stream, make sure the stream is going well. Live streams are always tricky, man. Live streams are the tricky things, but they're good because we can get information out as fast as possible. So it's good that CVE and CVE is getting this MITRE and CISA link up. It's definitely going to help move this thing forward. So I suggest you go out and check out this article. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the article because the article talks a lot about the history of CVE, and that's good information to know. Really good information to know. But that's what's going on there. Apple. I love the old conversation that if I got a Linux machine or I've got an Apple machine, I don't need malware protection because it's an Apple. I don't need malware protection. People are so wrong. People are just, you got to have malware protection. You've always had to have malware protection. If the bad guy, and I'm going to say guy is gender neutral, don't freak out on me, guys out there. If the bad guy is attacking a system, they're going to go after the biggest bang for the buck. And for a long time, that was Windows. Windows had 95% market share. But if they could do something like attack Adobe, and I'm going to pick on one, Flash, Adobe Flash, because Adobe Flash is terrible. If they could attack Adobe Flash, they may be able to use that one attack to attack Windows, Linux, and Mac all at the same time. So just because you had a Mac, just because you had a Linux system, didn't make you impervious to malware. And it was always a fight with folks to get antivirus on Linux machines, antivirus on Mac. So this is a story about Mac. A new Mac, macOS malware variant goes unnoticed by antivirus scanners. So even if you've got a scanner on your Mac now, this one's sneaking by. So cybercriminals have been turning to scripting languages as a preferred method for both dropping malware and executing payloads. The most talked about macOS malware, Slayer, S-H Layer, has hit the news again recently after being caught abusing the Apple macOS notarization services. And if you've ever had a Mac computer, when you go to install software, it's going to tell you whether it's, I'm going to air quotes here, guys, trusted or not. If you download something from the internet that Mac doesn't really believe is trusted, it's going to give you a warning. Hey, don't run this thing. It's dangerous. Danger Mouse. Danger Will Robinson. And it's going to warn you not to run it. And sometimes you're going to have to go extra steps just to run the application if it's not from the official Apple Store. So in September, Sentinel-1 researcher Phil Stokes discovered a new variant of the Slayer macOS malware called Z-Slayer, the Slayer, that obfuscates, I can never say that word, itself and slips past security tools to compromise the target machine. Following Apple's lead preferring the ZSH, or Z shell, to the bash shell, as its default shell language, the new variant employs a heavily obfuscated Z shell script to avoid detection. Since it's been active since late June, this new Z-Slayer variant uses standard Apple application bundle inside the DMG file. And if you guys know, DMG is the install file for Mac machines, kind of like an exe in Windows, or an install file. Hence, it was able to slip past Apple's notarization checks, bombarding users with of the infected machines with unwanted ads. Right now, it's throwing ads at the user, but it is a Trojan. It's a Trojan horse, according to the article. First found in 2018, Slayer, aka OS X Slayer, malware has been packaged with malicious adware, which continues to circulate until recent times. In July, over 1,000 malicious domains were used to distribute the Slayer's Trojan, which installed adware on infected devices. In June, masquerading as an Adobe Flash Player installer, Mac malware Slayer was delivered as a Trojan horse via a DMG disk image file. Worth noting, abusing Apple's notarization service is clear proof that the Slayer and Z-Slayer campaigns are evolving to become more dangerous. Hackers are developing multiple threat campaigns against macOS users. Experts say organizations should use behavioral analysis to detect such sophisticated malware threats. Of course, we're going to use heuristics and behavioral analytics to track these. That's the only way we can. But I'm saying just have some type of malware protection as your initial layer of defense. I don't care if it's Linux, I don't care if it's Mac, I don't care if it's Windows. Definitely if it's Windows. Come on, guys. Have malware protection on your machines. Can buy it. Malware protection is cheap. Cheap now. Eric, good morning from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Good morning, Eric. Good to hear from you. Glad to see you on the show. Chattanooga, Tennessee. Cool place, man. Tennessee's a cool place. So, install that malware protection, right? Know what you're downloading. We look at this. In July, 1,000 malicious domains were used to distribute the Slayer Trojan. So, people are pulling it down from somewhere. How it's getting, it doesn't really say how the bad guy here has got the end user to go to one of these 1,000 malicious domains. I don't know if they're a phishing attack. Don't know how exactly the distribution works on this thing. Articles list Cyber Social attack, a Cyber Social article. So you guys know, if you know me, I like Cyber Social because they're nice, concise articles. This one kind of leaves me wanting because it doesn't tell me how this malware is delivered. Is it phishing? Is it some way the attacker's getting on the box and then going to one of these malware sites? Is it a waterhole attack? Is it compromised websites? It doesn't say. But no, the big thing here is get some malware protection on your computers, regardless of what type they are. You got to have that malware protection. That's just, I mean, that's basics, man. That's basics. This one there, they're pointing to heuristics because that's the only, the only way you're going to find this is heuristics and behavioral analysis. What is normal? Mac, you gotta tighten up that you gotta tighten up your notarization system, man. If people are being able to bypass the notarization system to get malicious software to look legitimate, you got a problem, buddy. Apple, you got a problem if people are able to just modify the Z shell to get past that notarization problem, or the notarization check. Wow, there's an issue, guys. There's an issue with Mac, if that's the case. LockBit. This is the one I need my, the article from Bleeping Computer. Headline is LockBit ransomware launches data leak site to double extort victims. If you've been following at all any of this stuff, if you've been following ransomware at all in the last couple months, we know that LockBit has teamed up in the cartel with Maze. So this double extortion thing is the voice in the sky is gonna tell me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, really? I don't know if you guys. She's gonna say that again at normal volume.
Oh, really?
Come on. This is not even, to me, this is not even news. This doesn't meet the bar. The cartel, any organization that joins the Maze cartel, anyone that joins that cartel is going to use this double-pronged attack. That's a trait of the cartel. That's a trait of Maze. It's lock up the victim's data, lock it up with an encryption scheme that can't be broken, but before you do that, steal data off the machine so that you can post it to a website if your victim doesn't pay. This locks people into a situation where they have to pay. We've got protections. We can do backups. We can follow the 3-2-1 principle for backing up, right? We back our data up in 3 different places. We use 2 different types of media, and one of those is offline. If we do that according to the schedule that we need to follow for backups, our retention requirement, our ability to recover, our recovery level, if we do that, we follow that 3-2-1, ransomware is not a problem. It is not a problem because we've got a backup copy and we can just back up. We can recover from a malware attack, one of these ransomware attacks, and it has no effect. But when they do this double-pronged attack, when they do the 2-pronged attack, it brings a whole nother set of problems with it. Now we can recover, that's cool. We can recover from the ransomware attack. But now the bad guys got our data, and they've got it out on the dark web or the internet, and they're going to post it, and it brings a whole nother level of problems, right? Is it PII? Is it sensitive information? What all did they take? And I'm going to guess if they're taking gigabytes or terabytes of data off of your system, they're getting PII. They're getting sensitive information. They're getting stuff that you don't want on the internet. You don't want it leaked to the dark web. And there's a lot of question about paying these guys. Do you pay the ransom? I have not been hit by ransomware, luckily, but what choice do you really have? I mean, these guys have your data and they're going to expose your information. I had to argue this debate yesterday. I don't see how you can avoid paying it. Now, you're paying a ransom actor. You're paying somebody that they have your data. They could still post it, but Maze is an organization. To me, it works just like a corporation. If they take the ransom payment and they still post the information, they lose the ability to gain, they lose the ability for this to be an effective way to ransom people, right? Because then now you've got an issue where if I pay it, you're just going to release the information anyways. If they follow this model where if you pay the ransom, we don't release the information, it gives them validity to get the payments in the future. That's the model that works for them. It's sad, but it's true. That's the model. It works for these actors. Works for these ransomware actors. As long as they never post the data after they get a payment, they're almost always going to be guaranteed a payment. It's not, it's not the right thing to do. It's like on every movie you've seen where somebody gets taken as a hostage. Don't pay the ransom. Don't ever pay the ransom, because then the people that are asking for the ransom will continue to do it. But that's, as an organization, what choice do you have? Now, obviously, if it's just straight ransomware, if they've encrypted your files and you've got a backup, you can recover, no problem. Carry on with your day. But if they've taken your data offline, what options do you have? And that's why people have cyber insurance now. Cyber insurance helps you pay for this. So as we see the increase in ransomware attacks, and we see an increase in payments to ransomware actors, you're going to see a linked increase in the premiums for cyber protection, for cyber insurance. That is a guarantee. Cyber insurance is going to go up, and it's going to be tied to how well you secure your system. We know right now ransomware is, there's three main ways that folks are getting in, right? Unsecure RDP protect. Illy coffee. Unsecure RDP connections on the internet, unpatched VPNs, and phishing are the three main ways folks are getting in for ransomware. There's obviously other ways, and once we shore those up, get those fixed, there's going to be other ways. So always, cyber hygiene is the story here. But LockBit's going on. The article is in there. The big point of the article is, if you didn't see it coming, LockBit has joined the Maze cartel. Maze is known for taking data and posting it if the victim doesn't pay the ransom. It just makes sense that anyone in that cartel is going to follow the same model. The other thing they talk about here is LockBit has been doing this. They had their own site up for a while where they're posting data. When they joined Maze, they took it down. They took their site down. They're going to use the Maze site. The Maze site is going to be the one site where all this information is leaked. That's the power of the cartel. One site people are going to go to harvest all this information. So it's bad news. Ransomware is bad news. Again, you guys have heard me say this 1,000 times. If ransomware is not on your enterprise risk matrix, you got to get it there. Here's the flags of Russia and North Korea. Our last story today. There are links emerging between Lazarus and Russian-speaking cybercriminals. And really the heart of this story, the heart of this one is there's a research group called Intel 471. They hold two generally accepted assumptions. Lazarus group is tied to North Korea, and TrickBot, or TA505, and DriedX are connected to Russian-speaking cybercriminals. And what the link they're going to make here is that Lazarus is using TrickBot, and TrickBot is an invitation-only malware distribution framework You got to get invited. You got to be brought in to the group. It's not on the dark web. It's not anything like that. And essentially, what they're doing is they've made an agreement, and they've found a trail between Lazarus, which is a North Korean hacking group. One of the things we know about Lazarus is out for two things. They're out to get money to support the North Korean regime, and they're out to get intel or information to support the North Korean regime. So they're state-sponsored. They're a big old state-sponsored group. And they've done a lot of work against banks, against financial institutions. Lazarus has done a lot of work going after them because, that's the old story. Why do criminals rob banks? And the simple answer is that's where the money's kept. So why does Lazarus go after financial institutions? That's where the money's at. So that's why Lazarus does it. One of Lazarus' main goals is to prop up the North Korean regime by getting money. They do this in a number of ways. So they found a way to work with these Russian-speaking attackers. And they haven't gone so far as to tie Lazarus to any of the Russian APTs. But they are saying they're speaking Russian, they're making transactions in Russian. The North Koreans are working in a Russian exchange to do this. And what they're doing is they're using the TrickBot and the TrickBot network to identify their victims, and then Lazarus carries out the attack. And then if the attack is successful, they split the money with these Russian-speaking actors. And the article, and who's this one by? Dark reading. The article doesn't go so far as to say who the Russian-speaking actors are, but they're saying this is the benefit, this is the symbiotic relationship. TrickBot and the TrickBot network give access to financial institutions and other attack victims to the Lazarus group. The Lazarus groups conduct the attack and then get the money out and then split it with the Russian attackers. So it works for both of them. The TrickBot folks don't have to conduct the attack. They conduct the initial attack to get the foothold, and then they turn it over to Lazarus, and Lazarus does the heavy lifting to do it. Mike, good morning. Get to work, you bums. I think we don't see you very much. It must be a late day for you or something to be on beyond the stream. It's good to see you. You guys probably know this. I say it all the time. I say it all the time since we started doing it. I guess I say it all the time for the last month. If you want to listen to the same show, and I don't know why you'd want to listen to it again, but maybe you do, share with your friends or whatever. We are on iTunes. I looked yesterday. We're actually on Amazon as well. Amazon's podcast system. Spotify. We're all over the place. If you want to listen to this in audio only format, which is strange for me, but so this relationship doesn't. It's not really that crazy. Hackers talking to hackers and communists talking to communists. Say, call it like it is. The Russians are communists. The North Korean are communists. They're, it kind of goes out to, the article kind of cast Lazarus in a little bit of a light of being a lower tiered attack group that's working their way up. Lazarus has been around a while. I don't see them as a lower tier attack group. I see them on foothold with many of the other attack groups. Cyber attacks are asymmetric, man. You don't have to have a deep pockets to build a cyber attack capability, especially if you're a nation state. If you're a nation state, you can get some computers, you can get some people, especially if they're people either that totally believe in what your regime is about or they're at gunpoint. One of the two, I guess they work equally the same. If you do that, you can build a cyber attack capability. Because the information's out there. If you have people that can sit behind a computer and they have a little bit of capability and can learn, especially if you got this mentorship that can be built. You can build a pretty good attack capability for not a lot of money compared to building tanks and building planes and building aircraft carriers. Lazarus should not be underestimated. And that's I think the article does maybe disservice to Lazarus as far as how we should categorize them. They're a force to be reckoned with, I think, still. So the other thing the article talks about here is, up to this point, Lazarus and any of the other APTs, like 38, which is kind of a spin-off of Lazarus, they really haven't went after the SWIFT nodes in these financial organizations, which is good because SWIFT is how financial institutions transfer money back and forth. If they can get an attack on a SWIFT node, there's probably tens of thousands, millions of dollars of fraudulent transactions that can happen, because SWIFT is that backbone banking financial transfer capability that banks have, that financials have. Oh. Article finishes up saying the Lazarus Group has and will continue to use tools and techniques necessary for their mission. They operate like an intelligence service. I think that's true. The group has provided itself to be highly capable and willing to do the highest end of bad things. Their ability to do this is an asset. And that's from a... Who the heck is saying that? I don't even say who's it's quoted, but it doesn't even say who's quoting it. Yeah. Whoever it is is saying, Arena. I'm not sure who that is, but that's who they're quoting. Is saying Russia is leaps and bounds ahead of other regions, which makes them an appealing collaborator. Collaboration, we've seen it in physical warfare, physical arms races, physical treaties. NATO and Warsaw Pact, of course, are the big ones we think about from the Cold War. As cyber moves forward, there's not any reason that same type of structure wouldn't be set amongst these APTs, these hacking groups. If Warsaw Pact and NATO worked for the Cold War, and we see that Maze is building a cartel from ransomware folks, why wouldn't the APTs that have like-minded goals start getting together and working together? And that looks like what's happening. I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say that Lazarus is probably working with some of the Russian APTs. Fancy Bear, Cozy Bear, some of those. I'm just going to go on a limb and I'm going to say it. There's no proof. I'm just going to guess. My intuition says that. But what is going on here? At the end, APTs are not just 10,000 miles away. They're also physically present, and many are insiders. Yeah, APT. Yeah. Mike, you're talking about a whole nother level of problems there, and that's the insider threat and these guys that get inside. And we've seen too many times, especially with these state-sponsored intelligence programs, where they can actually put a bad guy physically inside one of our locations. That's a whole nother problem, Mike. I mean, as cyber folks, we worry about the folks that are 10,000 miles away or 10,000 feet away. Folks on the other end of a network cable or Wi-Fi access. The administrative security problem is, yes, that's another problem we have to worry about, and that's whether they're a plant from one of these organizations or one of these countries, or they've been turned. And we all, back in the Cold War, we turned Russians, the Soviets turned Americans. We've seen it happen back and forth so many times, and it's still happening. It just doesn't get the press it used to get. Aldrich Ames or Hansen or any of these guys that we caught during the Cold War that did so much damage, those folks are still there. There's folks still doing work for Russia and for China and for North Korea and for Cuba. and other places. Yeah. It's a business. Why can't there be economies of scale and comparative advantage? Yeah, and we see specialization too, Mike. So we see, in this article is good about specialization. So the Russian attack groups go in and they get a foothold. And sometimes, that may be the part that takes the longest time in some cases. They get a foothold in all these banks, all these financials, and they have them listed. Here's the for sale list we have. What do you want to buy off the for sale list? And then Lazarus can come in. They got the ability to conduct the attack, the final attack, the final leg, the final mile. And then they pick their choices off the menu, and then they go to work. And then both groups get the benefit. They specialize in what they specialize in. And it's bad for everyone. They start, economies of scale. Yeah. But that's our talk about Lazarus. These Maze getting people together, Lazarus and other APTs. In my opinion, it's APTs getting together. No proof in this article. They're just saying that Lazarus is talking to Russians in Russian. Yeah. So the last link you guys got in your show notes is, oh, come on, man. There we go. Trying to move my screens around. Just trying to drop my banner off. Yesterday we looked at a little bit of MITRE stuff. Today I wanted to show you, if you go to attack.mitre.org/groups, again, that's in your show notes. One of the last things in your show notes. That's the site. And I know we talk a lot about APTs. APT, Fancy Bear, Cozy Bear, Crouching Dragon, Hidden Lion, that kind of stuff. Or we talk about them by the APT number, APT 28 or APT 38 or whatever. MITRE being MITRE, has done a good job putting this cheat sheet together. So if you want a cheat sheet for the attack groups, this is where you go. This is a good one. There's a couple other. CrowdStrike's got a good one as well. But this has got, man, look at these folks out here. These are the active groups that MITRE has got a profile on. And like yesterday when we talked about this, the library that MITRE's building, these things have a pretty good job of giving you the high level details right off the bat. Like, so if we go look at 28, right? APT 28 has a ton of nicknames. We look here, this is all the nicknames that they have, right? TG 4127, which is threat group. Czar team, but our favorite Fancy Bear. Fancy Bear is what we normally call them. APT 29's got a number 2. A lot of times we hear them called the Dukes or Cozy Bear. Cozy Bear is kind of the one we hear all the time. And then obviously the Chinese Gothic Panda is here, APT 3. But if you go into one of these, and I'll go into APT 28 Fancy Bear, it's got the detail, kind of a high level detail right here. Including that this group reportedly compromised the Hillary Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee to interfere with the election. But it tells, here's all the different names and how they kind of some references or descriptions of those different names. Here's one we normally call 28 Fancy Bear. I like this. Similar to the library we talked about yesterday, this has the techniques used. It's not quite laid out as nice as the library will have it when the library's done. But it's got, the domain, pre-attack, enterprise. Most of these are enterprise, yeah. And then it's got it tied to, as we talked about yesterday, the actual attack framework the ID, the technique that's used, right, by domain name. APT28 registered domains imitating NATO and OSCE security websites and caucus information resources. So they bought domain names. They bought similar domain names to use in attack campaigns. Obtain reuse payloads. APT28 reused Surface Downloader as the payload of a lure document. So it's got the information about, the domain, what domain in the attack framework, the ID for the technique, the name of it, and then the use. So it gives it. If you're just getting into this, if you're new to this thing is cool, man. You can go in here and you learn a lot about not just the APTs, but what are they doing, right? So until it kind of walks through what they're doing, right? As we get down further, hide artifacts, hidden files, and directories. APT28 has saved files with hidden attributes, and it gives more information on that. So these are all, everything is hyperlinked here. It's hyperlinked to the MITRE attack framework. It's hyperlinked to more information about that type of attack. And it goes so far as to say, okay, what about the software they're using? And it gives a software ID and the name, references, and then the technique. All, again, look at this stuff. This is all hyperlinked back and forth. So you can, if you wanted to learn what these guys are doing, this is a great resource, man. It really is a great resource. And then all, of course, look at all these references. This is a lot of work MITRE did putting this together. And again, everything is hyperlinked. Everything is hyperlinked. And like yesterday when we looked at the attack framework, a lot of times the technique will have, maybe it'll break out, like we looked at phishing, and it broke out into spear phishing and other things. We see the same thing here. Like in this one, we see T1566. It has .002 and .001. Phishing, a spear phishing link, and phishing, a spear phishing attachment. Spear phishing, but two different techniques, right? A spear phishing link is going to be treated differently than a spear phishing attachment, right? And the defender is going to handle those in two different ways as well. So the attacker is going to use them two different ways. The defender will deal with them in two different ways. So again, this is in your show notes. Grab your show notes, check it out. Some of you guys may already know about these things. I was actually in a briefing yesterday where we had a really good guy that was talking about an attack technique. He was talking about man in the middle. And he assumed a lot from the group of people that were attending. And I think I've done the same thing in some cases. I've assumed that a lot of you guys know these things are out there. And that's probably a bad assumption. So I'm going to spend time over the coming weeks as they align with certain things, like today MITRE and CISA getting together, and talking about the APT that comes together. It's a good time to share something like this. CrowdStrike has a good one. We'll talk about the CrowdStrike, their rundown of these different APTs as well. I think that's a good resource as well. MITRE's where we're going to start. MITRE's kind of the official, because it is MITRE, the FFRDC. As you got time, maybe you've got someone junior, maybe you're mentoring someone. Again, I'm talking about mentoring. As you mentor someone, maybe just point them at this. I want you to tell them, hey, I want you to know. Tell me by the end of the week, by next month, by whatever time frame you've got. Think about one of the APTs that's coming after you. Maybe you're in the federal government. You're worried about 28, 29. Maybe you're worried about 3. Maybe you're worried about Fin 6. Maybe you're financial. You're worried about Fin 6. Have them go and say, hey, I want you to put together some information on Fancy Bear. Tell me, some of the techniques they use. Tell me some of the tools they use. I want you to go in and do some research. Maybe give me a little report on what Fancy Bear, Cozy Bear does. It's good exercise for someone. Gets them out, and maybe point them to this site. point them to CrowdStrike site, point them somewhere where they can go and have the access to the data at their fingertips, and now they just have to synthesize it. They need to make it make sense to them. Yeah, with MITRE, it's worth mentioning the kill chain. They work well together. Yeah, and you were here, Mike. You must have skipped out yesterday. Living the good life. Yeah, yesterday we talked about this adversary. I wish I could adversary something library. Forgot the name already. That MITRE's putting together, and it follows the kill chain, and the attack framework. Obviously, the attack framework we looked at a little bit yesterday. You can always go back check out yesterday's episode. We grabbed the attack framework. We walked kind of across the top of it. Yeah, the kill chain. Kill chain is worth mentioning, and always as a defender, the further to the left we can go on that kill chain. If we can stop the attacker the farthest to the left as we can, that means they have less chance of getting data, less chance of exploiting systems, and it's cheaper. And as we're selling stuff at work, we got to sell this return on investment. We stop them as far as we can to the left of the kill chain. That's what we have to do. Yeah, Mike, you're right, exactly right. MITRE, the cyber kill chain, Lockheed Martin, trademark, copyrighted, intellectual property. I think MITRE has their names across the top are different, but we did walk through the MITRE attack framework. That's ATT, the &CK attack framework, and how it follows the kill chain. And when we grab one of these technique identifiers, it will align. I haven't done this yet, but we go back over here to the good old PowerPoint. If we take one of these things, I'll run up to the top. Where's the spear phishing? Where did that go? It really doesn't matter. There we go. There's spear phishing. If we grab this one, I'm sure it's going to link us. Oh, it does link us over here. I thought it was going to link us to the place in the attack framework where this lives. It didn't. It took us to actually phishing sub-technique 3. Adversaries send phishing messages to elicit sensitive information. I had good write-up of it. I thought it was going to take us to the matrix itself. So this is what the Mike is talking about. This initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, command and control, exfiltration, and impact. This kind of movement from left to right across this page. This is the MITRE attack framework here. As we do things over here on the left side, it's cheaper. If we stop them over here, stop the bad guy over here, it's cheaper than trying to fix things and stop them over here when they get to command and control or exfiltration kind of stuff. But here we see that phishing. Again, the phishing, we know there's sub-techniques under phishing. I guess I clicked the wrong thing. There we go. And we see spear phishing attachment, spear phishing link, spear phishing via service. So there's 3 different techniques, right? 001, 002, and 003. Those are sub to this T1566, which is the technique for phishing. So yeah, definitely worth mentioning the kill chain. Stop people to far to the left as we can. It's kind of like if we talk about the bow tie technique of risk management, stop things on the left as much as possible. So, what is today? Today is Constitution Day, September 17th. There's a link in your show notes to an article from the Constitution Day. I don't know why I don't have it up still. Is it down here? There we go, Constitution Day. Yeah, it's from the National Constitution Center. Today is Constitution Day. On September 17th, 1787, the Founding Fathers signed the most influential document in American history, the U.S. Constitution. This is where you get a lot of your history buffs all tied up. Those folks that think they know what they're talking about, but they don't really. Declaration of Independence was 1776. Constitution was signed in 1787, but it wasn't officially ratified till 1789. So there was some time that the American government, the country of America, we operated under the Articles of Confederation, and that was from 1776 to 1789. That period of time. In that time, that's when we fought the war. We fought the Revolutionary War. The thing to know about 1789, that's when Washington was elected, right? So Washington was elected, George Washington. Our first president was elected in 1789. So between 1776 and 1789, we had two presidents in there that are never. Hanson was one of them, and I always forget the other one. But do know, today is Constitution Day. It started today. It actually wasn't finally ratified until 1789. And Mike's getting out of here. He's got to go. Got to split. Keep fighting the good fight and go get some. Yeah, we're almost finished up here too, Mike. Good to see you this morning. Oh, always good to see you guys in the morning. But no, 17 September is Constitution Day. So Continental Congress of the United States had its final meeting September 17th, 1787. They signed the Constitution. After the meeting, there was still much to do. Individual states then had to meet and vote on it. The U.S. Constitution did not go into effect until 2 years later on March 4th, 1789. So there you go. There's your Constitutional Day history. I'll challenge you. Figure who was the other president of the United States under the Articles of Confederation? One was Hanson, and I can never remember the guy's name. I always forget. I think he's French. But anyways, they were the two presidents before Washington. From 1776 to 1789, we had two different presidents. Washington obviously is the first president under the Constitution, and always cited as the first president. So, like Mike says, go out there and get some. Go get some. I'm gonna go get ready for the day. Get ready to fight the good fight, as Mike says. Take care of your friends, your families, your coworkers, your organizations. Take care of each other. Know you've got a community to come back to if you need help. We're always here. Facebook page, the RMF page, the Cyber-Recon page. If you want to join a community to talk about this stuff, we are always game to talk about things. So you got a lot to defend yourself against today. A lot of folks to take care of. So go out there, fight the good fight, take care of each other, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll be right here at 7:30 in the morning. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Do know that if you want an audio-only version of this, we are on all the major things: Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. We're out there. Cup of Cyber. You can listen to us there if you want to. But until tomorrow, until the morn, you guys be good, be careful out there, and we will see you. Oh, see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, guys. Man, it's already Friday. We'll see you. Make sure tomorrow right where you're red. We'll see you tomorrow. Be careful, guys. Be good.